Hi, welcome back. We've reviewed English nouns and how they're used. We've been introduced to 5 cases in Greek and 5 pairs of people. Now, let's have a look at the Greek endings for the nouns of the second declension. So let's get started here. All right, remember that in Greek we have case ending for the nouns that determine how they function in a sentence. We looked at the nominative case, that's a subject. The genitive case, that's a case of possession or sometimes definition. The dative case is the indirect object. The accusative case is the direct object. And the vocative case is the case of direct address. Nouns are declined into declensions. Declensions refer to groupings of nouns with common endings. And Greek nouns have case endings that will tell us how nouns function in a sentence. So look down at the bottom. We have groupings of nouns with common endings. So in chapter 2, we have the masculine nouns and neuter nouns of the second declension because of the similarity of their endings. So let's have a look at the endings themselves. Here's the declension of the masculine noun anthropos. Now, what you'll notice here is that you have the basic stem anthrop right here that carries through with 10 different endings. So let's say those together. Anthropos, anthropou, anthropo, anthropon, anthrope. Plural. Anthropoi, anthropon, anthropois, anthropous, and anthropoi. So you have the basic stem anthrop, and there are attached 10 different endings to the stem. You'll also notice here that the plural nominative and the plural vocative both have the same endings. Say, how in the world can I distinguish? It's going to be the sentence that will determine which it's going to be. So here we have anthrop down at the bottom, followed by different endings that tell us the gender, number, and case. So let's say these one more time. Anthropos, anthropou, anthropo, anthropon, anthrope. Plural. Anthropoi, anthropon, anthropois, anthropous, and anthropoi. So, all of the masculine nouns that you learn in the vocabulary of chapter 2, they end in os. That is the nominative form. That's the subject of the sentence. So here's the word artos right below it. That means bread or loaf. You'll see the ending os, that's masculine. So that word is going to follow the same pattern that we just looked at. It's a masculine noun, and it's going to be found with the masculine endings. Now, here are the neuter nouns and their endings. We have the neuter noun doron, that means gift. So let's say these together. Doron, doru, doro, doron, doron. Plural. Dora, doron, dorois, dora, dora. So all of the nouns in the vocabulary of chapter 2 that end in on are neuter, and they are going to follow this chart. So the basic stem dor is followed by its endings. Now, you'll notice here that both in the singular as well as the plural, the nominative, the accusative, and the vocative all have the same endings. You'll say, how in the world can I determine what it is? It's going to be the sentence itself that will determine what it's going to be. For example, if you already have an established subject of a sentence, you're not going to be looking for the subject, the nominative. It will be the direct object, the accusative case. And the same holds true for both the singular and the plural. So let's say these one more time. Do-ron, do-ru, do-ro, do-ron, and do-ron. Plural. Do-ra, do-ron, do-royce, do-ra, do-ra. So down here below, we have the word teknon. That's a neuter word. And it's going to follow this neuter chart. The basic stem is tekn, that ends in nu. And notice the ending, on. Now, let me just say a word here. At this point in Chapter 2, I would encourage you not to think about memorizing the endings themselves for the two charts. In Chapter 3, we will learn the definite article, the word the, for the masculine, the feminine, and the neuter, and that is going to be the key for all of these endings. For now, in Chapter 2, it's important to know how the two charts work. So let's apply that here with some practice. I'm going to hit my pause button and would ask that you do the same. And if you would, to provide the gender, number, case for these nouns, and then translate. And then we'll come back and compare notes. Well, how did you do? Well, here are the answers. Anthropoi, that can either be masculine plural nominative or masculine plural vocative. The nominative would simply be men, and O men, you don't always need to have the O there, but that's the case of direct address. The word doulo comes from doulos. That's a masculine word, isn't it? So this ending, O, the omega with the iota subscript, masculine singular dative, to a servant or slave, or other prepositions in, with, by, or for. It would all depend on the sentence itself. Huio, what's the vocab form? Huios. That's a nominative word. So, huio is a masculine singular dative, to a son. The next one, hierois. Go back to the vocab form. It's hieron. It ends in the omicron nu. That's a neuter noun. So the ending here is neuter plural dative, two temples. The next one, huiet, comes from huios. That's a masculine word. And that ending e, right here, is the masculine singular vocative, O son. Logon, masculine singular accusative. That means the direct object of a sentence. It comes from logos. And this means a word. The next one, doron. Now this can either be neuter singular nominative, neuter singular accusative, neuter singular vocative. And translation would be gift or o gift. Either as a subject of a sentence, the direct object, or the case of direct address. And finally, angelos. That's the vocab form, isn't it? Masculine, singular, nominative. So that's an angel or a messenger. All right, here we have a sentence. I'm going to ask that you hit your pause button, and we'll come back and compare notes. All right, here we have the sentence. Let's pronounce it together. Lege adelphos logon anthropois. Now, lege is a present active indicative, third person singular. He, she, or it says or speaks. Adelphos, that's the vocabulary form, isn't it? That's a masculine singular nominative. Logon comes from logos. The omicron nu ending here is the masculine singular accusative. And anthropois, go back to the vocab form, anthropos, this is a masculine plural dative. So what do? We take the subject here, adelphos, that's the nominative, and we make it the subject of the verb. So instead of he, she, or it says or speaks, we simply say, a brother speaks a word to men. Now, one final comment here. When you're working with a Greek sentence, always be looking for your subject first, your nominative, that's the nominative case. Second, look for the verb and relate the subject of the verb to the verb. And finally, look for the direct object, and that is your accusative case. Thanks.